Today I'm going to be sorry. I Okay, I'm new to this. So I'm Damani by name, as you all know, and one of these days I was going through my clips that I saved from my gameplays, and while I was watching them, I thought to myself, I said something to myself. I said, I'm just 1 year plus in the game today. Like, I just started playing Call of Duty like a year back, and I couldn't just help but be amazed by how far I've come through, and thanks to God as usual. And I started reflecting on people, my friends or my guys, you guys that come to my chat and ask me for settings, and you need idea the guns I use. You just ask random questions about the game. I might not be the best. Yes, I know. Not might. I'm not the best. Do you understand? But so far, I think I have one or two I could share out there that's going to probably help uh, new streamers or new gamers out there get better. So I decided to come up with a series where I tend to talk on the game, about the game, and I tend to watch my gameplay and analyze it with you guys, my mistakes and the things I did that were right, and why the other person lost his 1v1 fight with me. Do you understand? So that's as time goes on. But for today, I think I want to be starting with the popular question, which is uh, my settings. So when I started playing Call of Duty, I felt I was bad at the game. But the truth is, 40% of my worries got solved when I got the right settings. Now, forgive me for using the word the right settings. There's nothing like the right settings, but this is what works for me, and I believe it can work for you. So, what did I do? I looked up on YouTube, and uh, I looked up on YouTube and found streamers that were putting out their settings out there, and you know, I used a lot. There were a lot out there, so I worked with a few of them, and until I was able to come up with the ones I use currently. I'm going to be displaying my settings and talking about them. Yeah, before we start today's gameplay, I'm going to be displaying my settings and talking about them to those of you who asked me to share them. So to start with, you know how to navigate to your settings. You press the option button, and then you use the arrow one and navigate to settings. So there are what they call quick settings. So quick settings are the settings I just start to quickly go back to whenever I want to touch them. And under my quick settings, you have the horizontal stick, sensitivity, vertical, blah 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 blah. So we'll just go straight to the controller first. So when you come to the controller tab, the first thing you have is the aim input device, which is controller. Of course, I use a controller, and I use a dual edge controller. Yeah, an edge controller, PS5 edge controller, the one that has back paddles. So before you even get to this part, so there are some settings that you do on your PlayStation 5 for the dead zones and the rest that also helps with this part. So maybe I'll talk about that in another video. But for now, for the Call of Duty, I use a controller. Then edit button layout, I use the default. Stick layout presence, I use the default. So now this is one of the most important. Your horizontal stick sensitivity and your vertical stick sensitivity. For this, I use the 1.70 and 1.65 for the vertical. So this determines on how fast and your when they talk about stick sensitivity, horizontal and vertical, this analog you see here, that's what they talk about, how they respond when you use them. So for me, I use this. Some people use as low as 1.55. Some people use, when you hear someone moving, you say, oh, this guy is a movement demon, you can't track him. Before you know what's happening, he's gone. Some of them, when you hear, they use the max sensitivity. That's why they just move as fast as they do. This is where they do it. But trust me, for a beginner, you don't want to use the max. I will advise you start with something lower. I started with 1.20, 1.20 something, 25 or so, and then migrated to 1.40, 1.50. I'm currently on 1.70 and then 1.65. I think this is where I'll be dwelling for now. So, specific controller presets, off, all these, I just turned them off. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about the ones that I feel are the key things you need to pay attention to. So, when you're done, you come into the dead zones. So, for my dead zones, just copy these settings you see on my screen and add them to yours. Why the numbers are there, I must be honest, I can't tell, but I just know they work for me. So for the left stick mini 0, left stick max 60, right stick mini 5, right stick max 99, and then L2 button dead zone 0, Jedi 1 0. Then the next thing you want to talk about is the aiming sector. So when it has to do with the aiming, I think I pretty left all of them the same, the default. The only thing I touched was the tactical sensitivity multiplier, which is 0.90, and then ADS 0.85. That's the only thing I touched here. Then every other thing, I think, yeah. Then you click on the you come here and click on the hold on. When we went to the multiplier, you come down and aiming advanced settings, click on it. So for the ADS sensitivity, is always good to leave it at instant, third person ADS correction, whatever, assist, and then the aiming response curve type dynamic. Do you understand? The other one, just keep it on 0 point. When you click on show more, you put the aiming response curve to 0.90. Customize sensitivity, yeah. So just copy this for the customized sensitivity. Also copy these numbers and just put there. Like I said, these are what works for me. Probably it should work for you. And then you go back. Okay, trigger. I don't think we have any other thing to set under this. After the aiming, just copy this. If they are not the same in yours, you can still copy this and make them a default for you. So the next thing you go to is the movement. So tactical assist, the splint assist, I use the tactical assist. Then show more, I don't think I did anything here. These are the defaults. Mental assist. So now when you talk about mental assist, sometimes you're shooting your gun close to a wall, and the next thing you mount on the wall. So I don't like that because I've lost a lot of gunfights in that. So I always turn my off. My mental assist is always off. Do you understand? So some of you might want to turn it on for those of you who like to use the aid of maybe a wall to precise your aim. I think I did try for my aim, so I just leave it off. And then crouch assist. Crouch is you crouching. I turn mine off because you don't want to be shooting and then you're automatically crouching. Corner side, this is default. Wall jump assist, sideways only. So some people like to turn this off, but no, for some reasons I get away with my wall jump, so I will literally turn this on for myself. So slide behavior, tap to slide. That's what I use. If you know me, you know that I always slide. So some people use hybrid. I tried hybrid once, but it never worked for me. So now I'm not doing that anymore. So automatic airborne, whatever, off. So pretty just to copy these settings. I just talk about the most important. Slide corner, combat rolling, assist, I turn it off. Combat rolling, when you fall from a tall building, mostly when you're with the mountaineer pack, you do this rolling on the floor, whatever. So I turn that off. Wall jump activation, press, whatever. Okay. Combat rolling, third person, movement advanced settings. So for this, I turn this toggle auto move forward, no, off. So just copy this and put in yours. But I basically don't think I did anything there. Those are the default. Vehicle behavior, I mean, you're not always driving vehicles, so I would advise you leave that. So for combat, aim down, slide behavior, I do hold, tactical behavior on toggle, tactical stand activation, ADS plus button down. So dedicated melee weapon activation, hold melee. Body shield and finishing move behavior. So I always prioritize body shield, meaning some people prioritize finishing move, but I prioritize body shield, meaning once I get to your back, I first of all would hold you to take cover first before shooting or anything. So, but most times when you get to the back, you should see a prompt on that will give you what to do. If you double tap your arrow 3, it will tell you, oh, you do the finishing move. So, but most times, in case you don't double tap, once you press it once, this is what mine does. Once I press once, it uses the person as the body shield. So armor plate behavior, apply all. Yes, you don't want to be applying your plates one by one when you're in a 1v1 fight. Nah, you don't want that. So once I hold my triangle, it automatically fixes all the plates at once. So C4, whatever, one by one. So sometimes if you have a C4, you see that when you throw it, you have to throw the 2 of them before you can be able to, designate the C4. So, but I always want mine to be one by one, not to throw them all at once. Equipment behavior, hold, mental fire behavior, press, combat assist settings. Did I do anything here? I don't think I did anything, but just in case, you can still copy the settings as you see on my screen and use it for yours. But I don't think I did anything. Overall behavior, I didn't do anything here, but you can still copy just in case. So the next thing we're going into, which is the most important, is the graphics. Now, I use a monitor, so I want to work with the 120 refresh rate because of my monitor. Always turn it on. And then your echo mode presets, effective. This, now, I don't think I did anything here. So the quality, world motion blur, you want to turn it off. Like as you can see by the side of the screen, you can see what the blur looks like. So you want to always turn that off. Weapon mount blur, weapon motion blur, sorry, you want to turn that off also. Depth of field, you don't want to be shooting and then you're having depth of field in it, so you turn it off. Flexibility cast on, flexibility FX cast strength 90. So details, texture, minimal, optimized, just leave it at minimal, auto, whatever. So sorry, when graphics, view, this is the most important, your field of view. So I always do 120. By the side you can see what the different aspect ratio looks like. So I do 120. I've seen pros that use 115, but just whatever that works for you. It helps you see more of your screen. Do you understand? So I would advise you do in between 115 to 120. So ADS field of view, affected weapon field of view, you want to use wide. Okay, third person field of view, you want to use 90. Then vehicle field of view, default. So for the rest, just copy the settings you see here. And then the next thing is your audio settings. If you play Call of Duty, one of the most important settings you should always pay attention. So if you play Call of Duty, one of the most important settings you should pay attention is your audio. Yes, your audio. I'll tell you, your audio. Call of Duty is all about audio. So for the audio settings, the music volume, the master game volume, which is the overall volume, is on 100. Then now the music, gameplay music volume, you don't want to be hearing music when you're playing game. You don't want them interrupting you. I mean, a lot of people put that on 0, but I like to hear the music once in a while. So I leave it on 2. Dialogue volume, So dialogue is those airstrike coming in, those announcements you hear. So you don't want to completely turn it off. So I always leave mine. At the same time, you don't want it all over your ear when you're trying to hear footsteps, and then you're trying to pick points where an enemy is coming from through their footsteps, and then you have a volume shouting precision airstrike coming in. Do you understand? So I turn mine to 30. Effect volume also 30. Effect is, I think effect has to do with your gunshots and the rest. Effect, gunshots, and the effects of the effects of your tactical, your axe throwing, your Sentex. Those are effect volume. Yeah. So cinematic music volume. You don't want music. Trust me, you don't want music playing when you're playing this game. So I put that on 2. I still want to hear them. So audio, enhance headphone mode on. Enhance audio configuration. I think you need to pay for this. I didn't pay for this, so I don't have it. So for my global, I use Sucker Punch. A lot of my friends use this track mix headphone boost, but I don't know why. But Sucker Punch works for me. So test it and know what works for you. Remember, these settings are not a must. You just try them and find out what works for you. So mono audio, turn it off. Let's see. I don't think I did anything here. Mute license music off, whatever. Reduce. Okay, just copy these settings and you're good to go. So voice chats are your teammates comms, like the chats you hear, the enemies talking. You don't want it to be too loud, so I put mine on 40. Voice chat on, I turn it on. Proximity chat, that means you want to be hearing what the enemy is saying. Sometimes people just turn it off for their mental health, but me, I don't care. So body shield chat, this part means when you pick the person up, that's the only time you hear them talk. So also body shield chat, I want to hear them talk when you pick them up. I turn my on. So game chat voice or lobby, I want to hear everyone in the lobby. Community preset, turn this off. Microphone level, you don't want, in case your teammates say, oh, your mic is too loud, you can come here to reduce it. So mine is at 70. Open mic threshold 70. And I think that's it for the interface. Menu prompts, I don't think there's anything. Okay, most times you see people play, you hear people say, oh, what's your MS? What's your latency? Do you have packet loss? So this is where you turn them on. So you all know that if you have a high latency, it's just your input lag, the response of what you're pressing currently, and it's the server receiving it. So the lower the latency, the more responsive your gameplay. Then packet loss is you lagging. You hear people say, oh, I am teleporting, I'm in control. Next thing I saw myself downstairs, I'm seeing myself upstairs. You're teleporting. That means you have packet loss. So the higher the packet loss, the unplayable the game is. So you turn that on too, so you can be able to monitor that. Clock, for some reason, I just like to keep time. In as much as I turn the clock to keep time of my gameplay, I still don't keep time. I must be honest with you. Network alert, yeah, that's on. So readability, I don't think I touched anything here. So yeah, another thing you want to do is color. So I use this to effectively see the colors of my scene. Yes, just do these settings, filter 2, both 100. Just do this and show more. Just follow these settings and trust me, your colors will pop more. You understand? So text charts, I don't think there's anything extra now. Just copy in case. Game hub, gameplay hub, I don't think I did anything here. No, I didn't do anything here. So I think the only thing I did here is my crossplay line. I just made them bolder to see the dots. Do you understand? To always monitor the crossplay dot. I think that's the only thing I turned on here. But aside from that, nothing. Network. So this, for this particular part, I just turn on. Some people don't like to play with PC players. So if you turn this off, they will only pair you with PS5 players. Even you might not even be able to play with Xbox users. So I always advise you turn this on. Aside from that, that's all you need to know about my settings. And thank you, and see you on the next one.